Hi, this is Phil Spencer, and you're listening to the Inner Circle Podcast. For the fans, by the fans.
Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox One. Today we have a special guest on another special episode of the Inner Circle. Mr. Craig Duncan is with us. First and foremost, thank you, Craig, for coming on the show and giving us the opportunity to chat with you. As you know, we're big fans of Rare here at Tick because most of us grew up playing Rare games on the SNES, the 64, the Xbox, or the 360. So we're all excited to talk about Rare's latest title, Sea of Thieves, and maybe get a hint of what Rare may be planning in the future.
Thanks for the invitation. I remember us taking a picture in front of a Battletoad back at E3. Was it 2015?
2015,
I think it was.
Yes, it was. That was a great time.
So you're right. You guys have been very supportive of us and what we're trying to do. So it's cool to come and chat.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I remember that one specifically. That's my favorite. I think that was one of my favorite times being at E3 because we had done so much great work with the Microsoft teams and the executives that they invited us to E3, and that was our first E3 ever as a team. Yep. So it was awesome to go there.
You guys are an awesome bunch as well. So thanks for covering Rare and Sea of Thieves. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So listen, I think most fans interested in Sea of Thieves who want to know more about the game can find that info from just a few web searches. I mean, you guys have been pumping out the content for Sea of Thieves everywhere. The last video you put out was great. It really covered a lot of stuff. But there is a concern among some gamers still on the fence that the content may become repetitive and it needs a campaign. How does Sea of Thieves combat that notion?
Yeah, what we tend to find is once people play Sea of Thieves, they get it and they get what we're trying to do. And some of this is partly why we ran our insider program. We had people playing in our tech alphas and our betas because I think Sea of Thieves is very unlike other games. And the reason I'll say that is we've taken some very, very, very bold decisions in the kind of game we're trying to make. And, a lot of games very much, someone like a creator, studio, designer will create a game and they expect all players to follow that path and go through that journey that they've created. So what you're really doing is you're playing the designer's game at that point. And that's what you'd probably traditionally call in a game a campaign. Like here's the first level, here's the bosses, here's the end of level bad guy, and we've all grown up with that. We all played arcade games, going through 3D games, through action adventures. For Sea of Thieves, the bit that we got really excited about from the very, very start was what if you could go on an adventure with your friends or with players in the game, and every single time you play that game, it would play out differently. And some of this is through the magic of multiplayer, but a lot of it is actually through the way we've set the game up in Sea of Thieves. And like you say, a lot of this information's out there already, is we try and give you enough guided goals. So you've got things that you're trying to do and trying to achieve. But actually, what we really want you to get out of that are fantastic stories and memories of you playing with the people you're playing with. And it's where Sea of Thieves is a game like no other. So, my kind of answer to how do we combat the campaign is, we know from watching people play that, you can play Sea of Thieves for tens of hours, hundreds of hours, and every time you play, it will play out differently. So we almost want it to feel like your story that's really focused around you and your crew and the adventures you have. So when you've had those adventures, you've got these memories to talk about. Remember when we seen that ship on the horizon and we went and encountered it? Remember when we stole the treasure from that pirate crew? Remember when we were trading animals across one side of the map to the other and that solo sloop come and stole the stuff we had? Like, and all these, or remember we were coming back, and as you say, the video we showed yesterday, and the Kraken turned up. Wasn't that awesome? Like,
Right.
Right. And it's really about every single time you play Sea of Thieves. You know, yes, you're a pirate crew. Yes, you're going out on these adventures, but we want, you know, enough emergent aspects of the game for it to feel different every single time you play. And that's, like, I think when people get that, and it is different to a lot of games. Like, what we're kind of saying is, hey, the fun, the creativity, the self-expression, and what happens while you're playing is kind of the reward for playing. Like, by playing Sea of Thieves, you will have these awesome stories. Yes, you'll be able to get customization for your character and things that other games do well, but you're not playing it to just level up. You're playing it because the last time you played it, you had so much fun with your friends that you want to play it again.
Right. I mean, I love it in the fact that, again, like you said, it's more of your own adventure. You make your own story. I had a blast playing the game and just looking at the clouds. I just thought that was absolutely amazing. I remember it just being. I remember sitting on the deck of the ship and walking and realizing that it was really dark out, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't a storm. I wasn't in a storm. And as I look up at the sky, you can see the clouds moving, but there's little pockets in the cloud, and the sun is on the other side, and it's shining through the clouds. And I just thought, I was just in awe of that because I haven't seen that in a game. Like, you'll see clouds move, but you'll see them move as like a giant cloud just moving. You don't see clouds forming and dissipating and then reforming. I just thought that was super impressive with the game. So I definitely look forward to the game.
Yeah, our clouds are all 3D geometry, and this again is back to, like, if you look at Sea of Thieves, and we don't really talk about this, so it's kind of interesting, but like, there's no real UI in Sea of Thieves. Like, the ship works as you'd expect a ship to work. A cannon works as a cannon works. You know, you angle it, you load it. The clouds are the same. You know, we have day-night cycle. You have the sun, which reflects on the water. We have weather systems that, like, our storm moves around the map, and again, all of this is just really designed to just immerse you into this. Like, I'm not playing a game. I'm in this pirate fantastical world with my friends. Like, I'm not following a waypoint on a map that's telling me where to go. There's a map downstairs in the ship that shows me some islands. I've got a compass. I know which direction we're going. I know which way the wind's going. And we've tried to just make everything feel as not kind of boringly real, but, you know, believably real, that just makes you interacting with the world just feel very, very natural. And I think what that adds is it just immerses you in the experience more than any other game I've ever played. And, like, I've played Sea of Thieves, and this is no word of a lie, and this is not studio head at Rare. Like, I've been playing Sea of Thieves for 3 years, and I can still, like we're going to have a look at our day one version this weekend as a team, and I'm still as excited to play it now as I was 3 years ago. And I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into our game. Wow. And even when I say that, like, it just excites me that we've built this thing that's just so different every time you play.
Yeah, that's definitely been a selling point for me when I was taking some friends through the closed beta. Like, just like you said, it's not like other games or RPGs where you have a mini map and then you have a compass and you have all this really crowded, cluttered HUD telling you all these different things going on. No, we've got a compass and we're in the middle of a storm, and so that compass is now spinning around and we have no idea where we're going, but that's the beauty of it. That's the fun. Who knows if we're going to run into someone else in the storm? It's all this craziness, and it really, really works. It works well.
And it does need players to kind of take themselves out of their comfort zone of what other games do.
Right.
Like, but it's kind of what we've bet on as a studio. It's like, hey, we're going to go build something different, and if we love it and we're passionate about it, then our hope is that other people will love it. And you know, we have people in our community that love Sea of Thieves. And then, like, what's exciting is next week we'll see how big that scales, really.
Gotcha.
So, Sea of Thieves has the potential to be a very unique title for Xbox. I mean, as we've been discussing here, as you've stated, there aren't really any games like it in what it's trying to do. The art style, the dynamic weather, the water effects, even the characters, I'd say you look at it and you just see, okay, this is a rare game. That it has that rare flair to it. We've talked about, the faction missions. That's information is out there. There's notes in bottles that you can find on beaches, skeleton bases with lots of hoarded treasure. It's sort of like this big raid event when the cloud goes up in the sky. But I think fans want to know, what's the roadmap going to be like for Sea of Thieves? We don't want it to become repetitive. So can we have an idea of how often content will be coming, how you guys intend to keep it fresh?
Yeah, it's a great great question. And, I guess what I would say, and I've got to be very careful here as well, because obviously we have plans, we have features that we'd like to go do. But I want to make sure, and I think, the Rare team's done a really good job of just trying to set expectations about what Sea of Thieves is. We never try and claim it's something it isn't. And I think that becomes increasingly important when we look at post-launch roadmap. The sort of the way we're thinking about it is we're going to launch, and once we launch, we're going to learn a ton. Every single person, studio head, tech director I've ever spoken to that's launched a service-based game goes, hey, see all those things you think you know? Well, the moment you launch to 10 times the scale you've ever had before, you learn a load of stuff that you weren't even thinking were issues or challenges or tech. So we're going into it absolutely with our eyes open. It's really, let's have a successful launch. Let's make sure we're watching and listening and reacting to feedback. And I think that probably covers, the immediate roadmap. Like, I don't, hopefully that's a month, 6 weeks, who knows? But it's, we've got a room set up at Rare with all of the monitors around that's got all the telemetry and how many people are in the game and what's our join rate and how's matchmaking holding up, and all this stuff we've honed over our betas that has been super helpful. And then beyond that, we've talked about a couple of things just as examples of things we could do. So, we've said to people at launch, it's really about you becoming a pirate legend. And right. We think that's a great goal that is really easy for players to understand. And there's a couple of surprises when you get to pirate legend, which I won't spoil because I want players to uncover those. And when we think about post-launch, there's a couple of things like, do we continue to add different things to Pirate Legends, or do we add more ingredients to Sea of Thieves? And we've talked about things like pets, which I think are a kind of fun, just easy thing for people to get their head around. And once they've, developed their pirate and, would they like a pet? And but it's not really a pet because games have done pets before. Like, what is a pet in Sea of Thieves? How can we add that rare charm, humor? Can you throw it overboard? Can you do stuff to your crewmates' pets? All those kind of fun things that Sea of Thieves is. And then we've talked about, and it's not too much of a stretch to think about once you've got legendary pirates, you then start to get into a world of hey, well, is something like ship captaincy persistent then? Do we let legendary pirates own more stuff and start to think about it that way? Because I think at launch it's really important for us to land our vision, which is, you and your crew going on adventures against the world, every other ship's a crew of other players. That's really important. But it's not too much thinking beyond that to kind of say, well, once players have had that for a while, what are legendary pirates in the world? How are those legendary pirates going to show up against other pirates in the world? How can we make sure, as well as them having access to the pirate hideout, what are they doing? What's incentivizing them? And then really what other ingredients can we add to Sea of Thieves? I mean, one example, and we've prototyped lots of stuff that we haven't necessarily, some stuff didn't work, so we're not going to do it. Some stuff is just, it got deprioritized for launch, but it's stuff that we like. And there was one, really, really kind of silly example, but we talked about things like proximity chat. So if you sail close to someone and you're all using in-game chat, you can hear them, they can hear you, means you can communicate, or you can listen and rob people after they do all the work and dig up the treasure, which is one of my favorites. But one of the things we prototyped really early on was this thing called a speaking trumpet. So it's kind of like, imagine a pirate holding a big cone in the game, and that would just allow proximity chat to work over a bigger range. So it sounds like a really small thing, but it's another mechanic that kind of makes that ingredients of all the things players can have creative fun with. So then maybe I can, pretend that I'm on a ship with a crew of pirates, but what I'm actually is on the island 200 yards away. And
wow.
And you think about stuff like that, and that again is what our design team is making sure that these things we put into the game all have multiple uses, which can affect how players play with each other or how they go and solve riddles or get treasure. So it's things like that. So we will have a very large team, very well supported, well funded team working on Sea of Thieves for the foreseeable future. It's been a multi-year journey. We've spent 3+ years working on the game, and the team's as excited now as they were the day we announced it. It's like day one, like launches day one. There's a load of things we'd love to do and add. We're going to keep looking at feedback. We're going to keep looking at things like toxicity and griefing. Like, we're going to go to a much larger player base. Like, we need to keep an eye on that stuff. If that becomes a problem, that affects our community, which affects the play experience for everyone. Like, if there's issues there, we need to get on them like super quick. So we're trying to kind of go into post-launch roadmap with our eyes open as much as possible. Let's be reactive, but let's have some features going in the background. And I guess my sense is we'll probably do quick fixes and tweaks fairly regularly, but then bigger features, depending on the complexity, will probably come a bit further apart from each other.
Sure.
But that's really the way we're thinking about it. I know you asked me a simple question. I gave you a very long answer, but
no, that's a fantastic answer. It's a fantastic answer. It really is.
I agree. It answers a lot, and it gives people a sense of anticipation of what's to come as far as things later down the road. I mean, what you just said about the whole trumpet thing, I wasn't expecting something like that, and that's unique in that you can confuse people that's trying to get you. So if you see a ship on the horizon, something like that will come in handy. I really didn't. That was the last thing that I thought could be implemented in the game.
and it's things like that where, again, what we do always try and do with Sea of Thieves is what unique things can we do that makes Sea of Thieves feel like no other game? And I think the more of those we add versus just adding, because we can add more voyages and we can add more, outfits, and it's not saying those are bad things to do, but it's like, what are the things we can add that, lend to your reaction? Like, what would surprise and delight someone? What would give someone something that they hadn't even thought about? Because that's cool. That's where our designers and team and their creativity really comes to the fore.
Right. Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this game and its potential. I love sea monsters and the mystical aspects of Sea of Thieves. It's really cool to see the way you guys are trying to implement these things into the game. Everyone's excited about the Kraken, obviously. It's a big draw for the game. But that alone made me think about whether or not you guys could explore the sea monster lore and dive deeper into the mystical part of, pirates and sea creatures and ghosts and things like that. So do you think it's possible that we can see other potential sea creatures in the game? And have you guys ever considered ghost ships?
Anything's possible would be my very open-ended answer. And we have we have obviously the Ferry of the Damned, so the ghost ship. So when you die in Sea of Thieves, you end up on the Ferry of the Damned. What's interesting is anyone else that dies at the same time is also on the Ferry of the Damned. So,
right.
So we love that as a mechanic, and we said very early on, I remember sitting in a design meeting where we said, wouldn't it be awesome if you had two crews fighting and then the pirates that got killed ended up on the ferry of the Dam, and then they made friends and went out and sailed together. and of course,
Right.
you get people go, like gamers won't do that. And literally, I think in our first closed beta test, that exactly happened. Like players, these guys met up and they were chatting on the ferry of the Dam, and then they crewed up and went and played together, which was awesome. So our ghost ship has a sort of mechanism, but like we were very, very, very clear about the vision of Sea of Thieves by saying, every time you see another sail on the horizon, that's another crew or another player on their own adventure. And we didn't want to confuse that, because I think it's a really strong creative difference in Sea of Thieves. Like, so we didn't want to get to this like, is that another player, or is it an AI ship, or is it so we wanted to keep the purity of that.
Gotcha.
The Kraken, as we showed in the launch trailer, is just this fantastic in-world emergent event that you never know when it's going to happen. But when it does, I mean, you've seen the size of those tentacles.
Right.
It's having played it, it's terrifying in all the most awesome ways. And you realise the frigidity of your boat and your crew when this tentacle wraps round it, and we think that's really cool. And I think what Sea of Thieves offers us is, we've always said it's not historical pirates. The reason we got excited about the Kraken is the Kraken's this thing of legend that pirates talk about, that we want people to have fear and trepidation about. And then we have the mermaids, which are a design thing to help you get back on a ship. And then we have obviously the ghost ship, and so that there's lots of fantastical baseline for us to go build on. And then it's really kind of how, like, it's almost like where, like, we can take it in a number of different directions. It's almost like, where should we take it? And I think we all enjoyed the fantastical elements. I think something else we pushed in our launch trailer was some new skeleton types. So shadow skeletons, which get stronger at night, but you have to shine light on them to weaken them. And I think we showed the plant skeletons and the metal skeletons, which slow down if you put water on them. And so it was really about what we wanted to make sure at launch we had a real, like, nice enemy variety. And then the Kraken's just the creme. But to answer your question, like, it's absolutely possible. And I'm sure, like, the team have probably got some ideas of things we could do.
Nice.
Well, I love it because one of the things, I mean, as soon as I saw it, I said, man, the things that they could do with this game would be amazing. Obviously, it kind of contradicts the things that I want in the game because I know that every person, every ship is a person. I always imagine, like, there would be, like, one British frigate on the sea, right? And, like, you're exploring, and of course, there's other people in the world, but it's just this one frigate. If you see that frigate, it's time to get out of Dodge. Like, you have to get out of town because that thing is no joke. It's fast. It's got a lot of cannons on it. But another idea that I thought would be special is if, like, you guys had explored treasures protected by sea creatures. So, like, if you're at nighttime, you see this light, illuminating out of the ocean, and it's a giant anglerfish. And down there is the anglerfish treasure. You have to get past it. I thought mystical creatures and sea creatures and stuff like that, if you guys were able to implement that some way where you might have to get past a particular creature to get this treasure, or these random other creatures like giant sharks or really cool huge stingrays just appear randomly at different times, or maybe even seasonal, like maybe like during the, not seasonal, but maybe like during storms, this particular creature might come out. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think you've hit on a really interesting point there, which is, like, a lot of people think about a game as just being a game. And, Sea of Thieves that we ship at launch day one is not how Sea of Thieves will be 6 months, 12 months, 2 years from now. So, and we actually, we love this idea. We call them campaigns internally, but, how we'll brand them to players will be different. But we do like this idea of running almost time-based or event-based whether it's quests, or the example I always use when I'm talking to journalists, just because it's an easy one, is this notion of a mysterious stranger in the tavern that gives you a mysterious map or voyage or something at that moment in time. Very pirate tropey and easy, but that equally could be legend of a creature in a particular region. And this isn't me giving a feature away. I'm just
hypotheticals.
Hypothetically. That we could say, hey, there's been reported sightings of this type of creature in this region of the world, and actually sort of weave that into the ongoing lore of the game, because Sea of Thieves can evolve. Like, that's the beauty of what we've built,
right?
It's not like, I don't want anyone to think that Sea of Thieves, like we've evolved the game over the last year through all the alphas and betas and right up to launch, and we'll continue to evolve it. So with that way, it could go anywhere.
Nice.
That would be fantastic. You know what would be great for a legendary pirate? His very own ghost ship.
Ah, okay.
That would be cool. It'd be unique. Only a legendary pirate can get a ghost ship. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Sure. So obviously, Craig, you mentioned that Sea of Thieves has been in development for well over 3 years at this point, since the initial pitch. And no doubt with the game being in development for that long of a time, there's been growth at Rare. You guys have been hiring a lot of people. How has Sea of Thieves changed Rare as a studio in your structure moving forward, not just updating it with new content, as you no doubt will be doing, but making new projects in the future? How has that changed the climate at Rare, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed it massively in a very positive way. I mean, it's very different, and I've probably learned more, and I probably speak for the whole team here, in building games in the last 3 or 4 years as I have in building games in the 12 years I was doing it before then. And some of that is because we are trying to build something that can live on as a service, and that goes everywhere from the art style in making Sea of Thieves a game that has, I think you mentioned it earlier, Sam, has a unique look, is something that we believe will be timeless. So if you're playing it a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it will still look incredible. Right. Versus a game that would chase more realism, that might look dated as technology moves on.
Right.
So everything from the art to the design to the way we engineer to our community teams, like we've fundamentally changed the way we build games at Rare. Rare used to be this secretive studio that a game turned out every couple of years,
right.
And now we've almost done the opposite. We've opened the gates. We've been very transparent. We produce video content probably more than most video outlets do these days, and that's been really important. And we want to Sea of Thieves to live forever. Like if we're having a conversation in 5 years that people are still playing Sea of Thieves, I think that would be incredible.
Right.
Now, obviously, for Rare, Rare do new things, and Sea of Thieves is new. It's the most ambitious thing we've ever built, and that's completely the focus right now. But Rare's always done new things. It's always done different things, and we're always incubating little ideas and things like that. So I love the idea as a studio of having Sea of Thieves running and being supported and having a team doing that, and then looking at other things as we get creative ideas and fun things that we want to do. So I think if anything, it just empowers us to be, to be better and just have more sort of, I don't know what the word to describe it is. It just, I just love the idea of us just having this live game that we continue to evolve and update, and then just the rest of the studio's talent as well to just think about other things. It's great.
Right. Looking in, obviously, as an outsider, as a journalist and a gamer, first and foremost, who's looking forward to playing the game, I remember being eager-eyed and awed seeing Rare's name come up at the 2015 Xbox press conference and seeing that you guys were working on something crazy like this. It seems to me, as an outsider, that the creativity has just been dialed up to an 11. It's like, okay, we have this game that we're not just dumping it out here, like you said. It's it's going to be supported for a long time. Go nuts. What kind of ideas can we throw into this? How are players going to react to this? It lets you really experiment with that creative element, that rare flair. And again, building on what you said earlier about how, yes, the game is gorgeous. The waves are unmatched. The skyboxes look incredible, the lighting, but it still has that rare look to it. It's not aiming for hyper-realism, and as a result, it's okay for the game to be going on for years and years because it's not going to look outdated compared to just, say, the next hyper-realistic shooter that comes right around the corner, or a big fall blockbuster. That's not what it's aiming for in terms of its presentation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, I say this to my team, I'm super proud of my team, and I've actually spent more time thinking about our journey and where we started, more probably in the last week or so. Now we're near day one than I probably have throughout the rest of the project, because I just think you get to this stage and you kind of reflect on the journey and decision we made and all that kind of stuff. But we don't have any right to be successful. I mean, even though we're rare and we've got this history and 32-year pedigree and talented team, you've got to earn and build that right. And for me, I think we've made a lot of smart decisions. I think we've built a game that's genuinely unique, that we're super passionate about, and I hope and we'll do everything in our power to make it as successful and as big an opportunity as we can for many years. And that's why I say, I hope we are talking about Sea of Thieves in 5 years from now. I think it has the potential to be that. But obviously, like anything, you want players to love it, and you want play it. We've got a great community. We need that community to grow. We need people to fall in love with this game and want it to be their game of choice to play with their friends. But even now in the betas, I see feedback and people saying, hey, I played it with my kids and it's the first game we've played together as a family. Or I see people go, hey, I caught up with my friend that I hadn't spoke to for years and we're playing Sea of Thieves together. Or I've, previously rejected multiplayer games, but Sea of Thieves is a game that, I met people that I didn't even know and we've sailed together, and now I'm playing games and I've made friends in Sea of Thieves. And anything like that just tells me, regardless of how big we are, how successful we go, we've built something that will be special for some players. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Like you said, I think there's something about, obviously at the end of the day, Sea of Thieves is a pirate's life simulator. That's what you guys are going for at launch. It's becoming a pirate legend. But even within that, there's a lot of things to do. I have no doubt there's people who are just going to be, and I don't mean this in a derogatory fashion, just going around taking pictures, using it as a screenshot simulator or a wallpaper simulator, and then there's people who I know for a fact that my brother is excited about the fact that you can just chase pigs and that you can deliver pigs and chickens to merchants. It's silly, but it's cool. It fits. It's awesome. So now, there's pretty much no way this was going to be avoided. Banjo-Kazooie's 20th anniversary is this year. Yeah. Fans are clamoring, to say the absolute least. The mascots of Rare. We obviously got Rare Replay in 2015, and that was fantastic. That was pure fan service in the best possible way, respecting the legacy of those games. It was a fantastic thing to do. Is there any chance that fans will ever see new games from those mascots like Banjo or Conker or Cameo here or in the future?
This is always the kind of question that gets me in trouble, because however I ask it,
of course.
It's fine. I shouldn't be head of Rare if I can't answer this question in a press interview. We love Rare Replay. That was, you're right. It was a super passionate project. And it's something that we kind of poured our heart and soul in. And I think there's a couple of ways I'd kind of phrase this. One is, obviously we've done a ton of work in things like Rare Replay. I think I read a tweet the other day. Someone tweeted me and said, "Oh, it's Banjo's 20th anniversary." I hope it wasn't you, Sam, actually, because I'm not calling you out here.
It wasn't me, but I'm sure there's a number of people it could have been.
Yeah, someone tweeted me and said, "Hey, it's Banjo's 20th anniversary. I hear remasters are in vogue," or something was their question. And my kind of thinking on this is like, well, I mean, all the original games are all on backward compatibility anyway. Like, so it's not, and we release Rare Replay, so it's not like people, like, the thought of just going and remastering something, like, doesn't seem, like, remotely relevant. So that was kind of a weird question, because like I say, I think Phil and the back compatibility team have done an amazing job preserving.
Oh, they have.
And all that. And part of what we wanted to do with Rare, I was very, like, our strategy for 2015 is like, if we're going to go announce a Rare new IP, then we have some celebration of our 30-year history, and because that was our 30th anniversary. And obviously, like there's no way I can, or would kind of announce anything here.
Of course.
The way I talked about it I actually had a press interview, I think it was with IGN actually, and the way I talked about it with them was like, if you're going to do something again with an existing franchise or character, then you've got to have a really strong reason why you're going to do that. And that's got to be, the team being passionate about a story they're going to tell, or a complete, a new gaming idea, or something that elevates it to be new and fresh and interesting. And, the reason we all got excited about Sea of Thieves is we said, like, the story at the conversation at the time was, can we create a game about players creating stories together where it's different every single time they play? And when we said that, like, there was a lot of excitement, but there was also a lot of, like, could we do that? Like, can we actually make a game that literally you would have these fantastic adventures, and it's actually about the dynamic between players, and we can set it in this Rare universe, which would be super inviting. And I think when you're building something where you're going, can we do that? Like, is that even possible? Is there any game like this? Like, creatively, that's challenging you, and you're onto something. Like, we knew in 3 or 4 months we were onto something with Sea of Thieves that was, like, truly special and unique. Like, and this was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I think you've got to hold yourself, or Rare has to hold itself to the same standards, whether it's a new IP or whether it's doing something with its existing characters. Like, you've got to have a reason why. You've got to have something, like, and this is where I always get in trouble, because I always say this in the wrong way, but, like, if I just told the team to go reboot something, and of course they'll do it because I'm their boss and blah, 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 but it's not, like, that's not the way you get a great game.
Right.
Like, you get a great game when you have a team of people that are passionate about doing something that is special and unique. And, like, Sea of Thieves is a great game because it reflects the passion and energy and excitement of Rare over this, 3.5 year period. Like, that's why Sea of Thieves feels magical. It's not because of, Phil and I sat in an office and said, hey, Rare should go make an open world pirate game. Like that, like, it couldn't be any further from the truth. It's what it is because the team are super passionate. And,
right.
And, my job as the kind of steward of Rare and Rare's IP and the studio is to create an environment where the team are doing things that they're super passionate about, because my belief is if you get the right game with the right team and the right talent, and you kind of incubate it in the right environment, then that gives you as good a chance as any as making something that can really have an impact on the industry and be something special. So my sort of short answer, as opposed to the long rambling one, is like, you've got to, like, don't just do this stuff. You've got to have a reason why. You've got to have something that's unique about it. You've got to, like, you can't just go make the same game that someone made before 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. You're not, in the extreme world of hypotheticals, you're not just rebooting a game for the sake of rebooting a game. There needs to be more to it than that. There needs to be passion and creativity and, oh, well, what are we doing different this time, or what's the point of this, or why are we remaking, or whatever. There's a lot of questions that need to go into that. It's not as simple as, we've hit a certain year celebrating something, we have to do something to match that year.
I think that's right, because I think if you do that, you end up doing weird, unnatural things that probably wouldn't be good. But, we're aware of birthdays of our characters as well. So, the Rare Replay thing kind of came about because of Rare's 30-year anniversary.
Right.
Like, that was the absolute origin of that project. It was like, crap, it's like Rare's 30 years, what are we going to do? And we talked about everything from making a movie to, having a party to, doing a greatest hit, like, and then it was like, oh, could we do a multi-generational, like that's kind of how that came about. Yeah, and Banjo's I remember playing it, so it's 20 years. Wow, that just makes me feel old now.
And anyone who wants to play that, obviously, as you mentioned before, Phil and the Backwards Compatible team have done a phenomenal job supporting so many of those 360 games and now adding in the OG games as well. I really have to give them a shout. It's fantastic, the work that they're doing there.
It's incredible, and I remember we partnered with that team so closely when we did Rare Replay, because that was the tech that enabled us to get the 360 stuff into that collection. So the Rare games were actually the first ones that they were kind of getting running, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, just such a passionate bunch of engineers and individuals, and really great team. And again, as a gamer, and I'm probably the same as you guys. I have my old Dreamcast and I have my old N64 and I've got a SNES in a box somewhere, and I've got my OG Xbox, and but and while that's kind of cool to have retro stuff, I love this idea of just gaming being preserved and being able to go back and play a game I loved 15 years ago. And that was what Rare Replay was for us. It was like, hey, let's give people Rare's history. And I think back compatibility is exactly the same. There's, when I think it was Dead Space, when Dead Space went on there, I went back and replayed the first Dead Space because I remember it so fondly playing it through the first time that I played it through again on my Xbox One just because it's an incredible game.
It really is.
If it hadn't been for back compatibility, I would have probably never played that game again because I wouldn't have dug out my 360 and powered it up and blah, all that kind of faff.
Oh, yeah, same. Wow. I'm just realizing now, looking back on it, 2015, we got Sea of Thieves announced, Rare Replay announced, and back compatible in the same conference. So that was a darn good year.
Microsoft
that was really
normally
good.
has really great conferences. I know people kind of get on them sometimes because we've seen a lot of the same stuff, but normally their conferences are always really good.
Yeah, and it's really hard for me to be objective because I'm kind of in the process.
Of course.
The E3 conference is normally the last thing we do at the end of months and months of planning and prep and rehearsals and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. I think the team work incredibly hard just putting them together. And 2015, honestly, I still would put it up. Hopefully next week eclipses it, but I'd still put it up as my proudest career moment to date. Just being able to announce, Rare Replay and announce the next new IP from Rare, 2015 on stage at E3. That was definitely a moment that I won't forget.
Awesome.
And then 3 and a bit years went past, and I
now you're about to launch a new AAA first party IP. That's
it.
That's crazy.
Not sure what's happened in the last 3 years, but it's been kind of busy.
We just spoke about Rare's growth and how large the team has become thanks to Sea of Thieves. We also understand that a portion of the team will focus on Sea of Thieves and its constant evolution over time. But with a team that large, it's perfect to begin other projects. Do you think Rare can become the studio that Microsoft needs that produces continued, unique, and original content? And has that team begun to push any ideas for other projects or new IPs?
This is, again, the kind of question that's going to get me in trouble, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, definitely at the moment, like, it's Sea of Thieves, it's Sea of Thieves post-launch.
Right,
sure,
Everything I've said so far is, like, it is the focus.
For good reason.
And I think, as I said to Sam, like, yeah, we're always spinning on little ideas and incubating things, and I think Rare is in a unique position. I mean, it's not for me to say what Microsoft or Xbox needs or doesn't need. You know, Rare is one of a number of teams doing very cool stuff in Microsoft. Like, I think what excites me about Rare is, you know, we're this, you know, independently spirited UK developer in the middle of the English countryside, you know, which we are quite independent from the rest of the Microsoft team, even though our goals are exactly the same. You know, we want to make great games. We want players to have a great time. Like, Phil and I are like philosophically aligned on gaming as much as it. Like, you know, he's a great guy. He wants our platform and services and games to be great, and our players and to have amazing time, as do I. I think what you get from Rare is different things. And, you know, I'm not sure, maybe this is a bold claim to make, I'm not sure anyone else would go make Sea of Thieves in the way that we've
I agree.
And I think that's the kind of, to answer your question, Len, like, I think that's the Rare kind of special sauce that might seem a bit crazy sometimes and might seem a little bit like controlled chaos from the outside. Like, what? Rare's making a pirate game and it's about, like, it's a shared world, and, like, it's the kind of thing that on paper at the start you'd go, that seems really crazy and risky. And we read internet comments as well as you guys do. Like, I don't know why Rare's making that. That seems crazy and risky. And it's like, yeah, but it is. But if it pays off and it's unique and it gives gamers a completely different kind of game to play, then it's worth it. And, you know, what I love about my job and what I love about Rare is, you know, when I go and speak to Phil and the Xbox leadership team and I say, hey, like, here's this, you know, new thing we're going to go after that we believe in and we think's cool and the team's really passionate about, you know, generally what I get is like, that's awesome. How can we help? And that's great, you know, because as a studio, like, Rare is a very special studio. It has, you know, super creative, talented people, and you know, my job's to try and help them, you know, make amazing games. So I love what we've done with Sea of Thieves. I think we've made a lot of pretty good decisions, and I'm hoping, you know, it continues and pays off, and I think that leads to more opportunities for Rare.
You know, I think what I like about Rare the most, and I know a lot of people, trust me, a lot of people who are not Xbox fans want Rare to go back to Nintendo. I want to put that out there. And that's mainly because Rare had such a long and, you know, vivid history with Nintendo. For me, I feel like Rare is, at Microsoft, is the one studio that is in the right place, because they don't have a studio like Rare. Nintendo has Mario and all these other quirky games and things like that people enjoy and love. I think Microsoft doesn't have that, and because they have Rare, the opportunity is always there. And without Rare, I think it would actually hurt them. It would be a detriment. So that's why I really like to see what's next for Rare, what they're producing, why people are always clamoring for the next Banjo, the next Conquer. You know, I always get, what happened to Cameo 2? Why did they cancel Cameo 2? And I remember Cameo, when I first played it on 360, was very unique and it was very different. And they boasted about having 1,000, you know, goblins on screen at one time and orcs and stuff. Yep. And I was like, it was really cool back then, but we haven't seen those characters in such a long time. So seeing Sea of Thieves obviously has renewed a lot of people's confidence in Rare, and hoping to see some revive franchises. Like, I feel like, and I don't know if you saw what I sent to you on Twitter and a conversation you were having, probably not, but I had thought about, like, Rare Replay and how there were so many games on there where I was like, wow, look at all these old school games that I never even knew Rare made. I didn't even know you guys did the RC truck thing, and I didn't know that Saber Wolf was a game in itself, not just a character in Killer Instinct, that it was just its own separate game. And that's when I got to thinking, like, man, wouldn't it be amazing if Microsoft greenlit a new Saberwolf game where you play the character that transformed into a werewolf and you went on these crazy adventures?
I do remember this, actually. Yep. I remember that bit.
Yeah, and I was just like, I think that would be absolutely amazing if because Rare has all of these old franchises, if Microsoft just start green lighting these franchises from Rare, because it's just different from Halo, Gears, Forza, Sunset Overdrive, State of Decay, and those are great mature games, and that's why I love Xbox. But every once in a while, you just want something that's rare, and that's why I know a lot of fans are interested in what's next. But let's get Sea of Thieves first, and I'm pretty sure that once that's out, we'll start to see some really cool things from Rare, whether it's new IP or older IPs.
No, I mean, thanks for the kind words, and I appreciate all the love, and Rare is in a great position. Like I feel great about the team. I feel great about the kind of growth we've had, and I think as well as and as I mentioned earlier, as well as just talking about the why you go do something, you've also got to make sure you have enough talent and bandwidth. And Rare's a big studio, but it's not a absolutely enormous, massive, rock star Ubisoft. Like we're like 100 and it varies because we have contractors, but kind of between 120 and about 160 people, which is a big size, and we can go take on things. But like anything as a game maker, like you've just got to make sure, like, right team, right idea. Like, so obviously what I wouldn't want to go do, like, Sea of Thieves takes a lot of effort and focus. Like if you go and we'd never want to under-resource Sea of Thieves, go kick off 5 things and then fail at all of them.
Right.
So it's always that balance of even if you do want to go do something, like, have I got the right team, the right leadership, the right passion, the right idea? And building games is probably tougher now than it's ever been. The competition is harder. There's way more games out there. So I think as a games company, and we're more than happy to take risks, but you've just got to take the right risk with the right team and belief. And actually, the team that took on KI, and obviously Ken Lobb, who I know you guys met as well. Like he was involved with Rare back when the original Killer Instinct was created. They had a studio that were really passionate about Killer Instinct, and it was like, okay, like, is Rare going to go do anything with this IP? We've got this team that's really passionate. I'm going to be the creative person that, shepherds it. I've been a part of the DNA of that franchise. And when you get things like that make sense, then like I actually thought, the KI team and the studio's publishing team did an amazing job with that as a franchise.
Did. Yes, they did. Yeah.
And that's why Battletoad ended up in there as well, because they were like, oh, we're looking at new characters. Yeah. So that stuff's kind of fun to do as well. So, I think I ducked your question, and I think I'm not going to get in trouble. So that's good.
Hey, listen, it's obviously we as gamers, we always want more games.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for the next hottest thing and stuff. And like you said, it's not easy. I think a lot of fans with the whole loot box, microtransaction thing don't fully understand how hard it is to fund games. If you don't make a return, how that might hurt a studio. And you see studios that might not be as successful with their games shut down, close down, go out of business, unfortunately. So you have to look at other ways of doing it. It's one of the reasons why I think Game Pass is really important for Microsoft, and it's a great way to introduce people. And I argue all the time that you might have, say, 500,000 people buy Sea of Thieves, but everybody that's on the fence, that's like, I don't want to spend that 60, or I don't want to spend that X amount of dollars on Sea of Thieves, now have an opportunity to try it for $10. And if you can capture that audience, if you can capture the person who played it for $10 and decides that I want to buy it, or maybe I just want to get this DLC and I'll stay with Game Pass, you just increased the players' on that game. You just made a ton of money in DLC. You just made new people interested in what Microsoft is doing and what Rare's doing. So yeah, I think the options are great, and I really think I like that approach. And it's unfortunate that the game industry is moving forward. The pricing hasn't moved forward with it, and finding ways to supplement, keeping the price tag at a good entry level fee and not increasing it is obviously something that developers and industry people have to figure out. But Game Pass is a great way to do it, and I know a lot of other companies are looking at ways and trying to get their games out there. So Sea of Thieves, I think, is definitely on the right path and has the right potential. It should be a success based on at least what we've seen and heard so far.
Yeah, and that's our hope. And I think, I don't need to answer a Game Pass question because I think you did a great job in talking about it and selling it. And honestly, like when we had the conversation, it's like, hey, just see if these want to be the first party game day and date with Game Pass. Like my answer was just an overwhelming yes, because it means more players. It means people will get exposed to Sea of Thieves that maybe, like you say, maybe have sat on the fence. Hey, I'm not sure about this game. Hey, I'm not sure about multiplayer. But like if you've got, like, I think about the amount of things I've watched on Netflix that I would never have watched, like in a million years. But because I've got the service and because it's there, and Netflix goes, hey, I think they've got a what's hot or what's trending or something like that. Hey, everyone's talking about this show. Okay, that's cool. I've already got it. It's like I pay for the service anyway.
Might as well check it out. Yeah,
that's it. So I love this idea of people discovering Sea of Thieves just because it's there and there's buzz about it, and more players playing Sea of Thieves is a good thing. Like that's what I keep going back to as a game maker. More people I can have playing our game, the better it is for Sea of Thieves.
Absolutely. So, Sam, is there anything on your mind before we head out of here?
No, except thank you so much for coming out here and doing this, dude. It's been fantastic talking to you about all this stuff, talking about Sea of Thieves, Rare as a company, maybe hinting at where things are moving forward in the future. It's all fantastic stuff.
Thanks, like I said before, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for being supporters of what we do and believers. That's important. And hey, it's fun to chat games with people that are into games and passionate like you guys are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Craig, again for coming on the show. We greatly appreciate your time and hope to have you on again in the future.
Sounds good, Len. Sam, great to chat to you both.
Absolutely. Have a great night.